IDAHOBIT sounds like a new character dreamed up by J.R.R. Tolkien. You know, we had Bilbo, Frodo, and now we've got IDAHOBIT. But no, alas, IDAHOBIT is one of those turgid, awkward, ungainly, and idiotic acronyms that have proliferated in recent years, like, well, horny hobbits. IDAHOBIT stands for, and I'll have to take this slowly, the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Interphobia, and Transphobia. Maybe IDAHOBIT is easier after all. I have no idea what biphobia or interphobia look like, but I doubt very much that there is a single person on the planet who is genuinely biphobic or interphobic. I might be wrong, who knows. Still, let's have an international day. Why not? Well, one reason why not is once you head down this particular rabbit hole, you get into the thickets of individual pronouns and pronoun choices. And of course, to prove you are not a rabid interphobe, you have to dress appropriately. Indeed, recently the Australian Defence Forces, also known as our Army, were given a Defence People Group Communication Plan that you, of course, paid for with your taxes. This Defence People Group Communication Plan, snappy, instructed our fighting forces that in order to celebrate IDAHOBIT, our Australian soldiers should dress up in rainbow colours and host morning tea parties where they stop calling their wives wives or their husbands husbands, but instead ask their fellow soldiers, "What is your pronoun?" So, just to be really, really clear, under the auspices of Defence Force Chief Angus Campbell and Secretary Greg Moriarty, in future, instead of a soldier in camouflage fatigues hiding behind the bushes brandishing a rifle yelling, "Halt! Who goes there?" Australians' lives and livelihoods are to be protected by a soldier in a rainbow tutu hiding behind an espresso machine brandishing a kale muffin, calling out, "Halt! What is your pronoun?" Or not. Fortunately, in Peter Dutton, as opposed to Linda Reynolds or Maurice Payne, we now have a defence minister who is interested in being a defence minister rather than a woke warrior. On Friday, Peter Dutton, who has vowed to shake up his department and refocus on its core mission, i.e. defence of the realm, decreed that events such as morning teas where personnel are encouraged to wear particular clothes must cease. Bravo. Finally, a member of the coalition who is courageous enough to say, "Halt, no more woke nonsense goes here. Let's fight and win the culture wars." Personally, and I won't beat about the bush here, I believe Australia would be in a much better position right now had Peter Dutton been voted Liberal leader by his colleagues instead of Scott Morrison. But anything's better than Malcolm Turnbull, so I mustn't grumble. Interestingly, and coincidentally, or maybe not, in the USA this week, the brilliant conservative Ted Cruz also denounced the US military in even harsher terms, saying a woke, emasculated military is not the best idea, and that the woke media are trying to turn the army into, his word, pansies. He then Cruz went on to compare one Russian army ad to the latest US army ad. Have a look, we'll play them back to back and ask yourself, whose army would you rather was defending you?
В жизни. Что ты знаешь о себе? На что ты способен? Вопросы могут остаться без ответов, но разве ты сумел знать себя? Познать границы своих возможностей? К черту границы! А без боя нет победы. Но на самом деле, главный враг — это задача выследить врага, догнать его, превзойти, стать лучше, чем он.
It begins in California, with a little girl raised by two moms. I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age. To marry my other mom. With such powerful role models, I finished high school at the top of my class. And after meeting with an Army recruiter, I found it. A way to prove my inner strength. I'm U.S. Army Corporal Emma Malone Lord.
There must be Enemies out there laughing themselves silly. Anyway, needless to say, when Peter Dutton pulled the rug on the ghastly IDAHOBIT tea parties, The Guardian, the virtually unreadable online magazine commissioned by Malcolm Turnbull, tried to suggest that Peter Dutton was being ridiculed as a minister for culture wars. Well, Minister Dutton, all I can say is thank God. We desperately need a minister to fight the culture wars. Wear that title and The Guardian's scorn as a badge of honour, Minister Dutton. A minister for culture wars is precisely what every Australian needs right now if we are to save this country from the reckless damage being daily inflicted upon so many aspects of our lives by the left's long march through the institutions. If we are to defeat the enemies without, and there are one or two who spring to mind, we must first defeat the ideological enemies within who are crippling our armed services, perverting the education of our children, destroying our economic advantages, obliterating our future prosperity, and leaving us increasingly vulnerable thanks to insane infatuations with gender identity, climate change, racism theories, Indigenous revisionism, white guilt, personal pronouns, IDAHOBITs, and all the other madness. Oh, wait for this. The Defence People Group Communication Plan I referred to earlier actually warned our soldiers not to be on their guard against Chinese infiltration or militant neo-Marxists or anarchist agitators or offensive weapons or terrorists. Oh, no, none of that. Our armed forces from now on are to be on the lookout for offensive terms such as gender dysphoria, which apparently, and every soldier needs to know this, has been replaced with gender incongruence. The top brass at Duntroon are a joke. The fish rots from the top. Australia faces the most terrifying and arguably insurmountable problems and military threats in the years ahead, China being at the top of that list. Yet we are emasculating, as Ted Cruz says, our military forces with identity politics and woke virtue signalling.